In our last video, we explored the purpose of human creation by God, a very specific objective. Today, we will recapitulate and delve deeper into this theme, so that no doubts remain. The great divine ideal of creation was, fundamentally, happiness. And to realize this, God envisioned a family, composed of human beings created in His image and likeness, endowed with all His attributes. Thus we can be sure that the pursuit of happiness is an intrinsic characteristic of God, and it was inherited by His children, that is, by us. Human beings, by their very nature, do not long for isolation. On the contrary, they desire exchange, giving and receiving, to thus produce and experience joy. Where does this nature come from, this deep desire for joy and happiness? It comes from God. It is evident that He Himself longs for joy. Therefore, God's fundamental motivation for creating was precisely to generate joy. At each stage of creation, upon completing a work, God declared that it was good. Genesis 1, 4-31, showing His satisfaction. However, God's joy will only be full and complete when human beings achieve perfect joy, and this will happen with the establishment of the kingdom of heaven, both on earth and in the spiritual world. Note that God blessed us, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and have dominion over every living thing that moves on the earth." Genesis 1:28. If Adam and Eve had obeyed this divine command, fulfilling the three great blessings, the kingdom of heaven would already be an established reality. God created us as His children, in His image and likeness, with an internal and external nature that reflects His own, endowed with sensitivity for feelings and emotions that echo His. The kingdom of heaven is, in essence, the perfect harmony between God, human beings, and all creation. This was always the divine goal in creating us. The key to God's first blessing is the perfection of individual character. This perfection is a divine gift that we should aspire to, for by attaining it, we become precious to God. When we perceive and follow the divine will in our heart and mind, we are truly His children. A perfected person unites with God, feels the divine heart, and acquires God's nature. This union is a source of joy and prevents us from doing anything that might sadden our Father or harm our neighbor. The perfected human being acts in total harmony with the divine will, thus finding true happiness. This is echoed in Jesus' words, "Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Matthew 5:48. God's second blessing is the multiplication of good children. Imagine, when man and woman, already perfected, united, they would give rise to children with a divine nature. These families, then, would form a society that would be a substantial representation of good for God. Such a perfected society would naturally generate perfect nations, and the kingdom of heaven would be fully established. And then, we have the third blessing, the responsibility to exercise dominion over creation in unity with God. By fulfilling this responsibility, creation itself can experience divine love through us. It is, therefore, our essential task to care for creation with love and respect, becoming a true channel of blessings for the world in which we live. Thus, God's ideal world would become a tangible reality. The growth period, maturing for perfection. It is important to understand that the universe did not come into being complete in an instant, ignoring the flow of time. Its origin and development required a vast period. For this reason, the biblical period of 6 days for the completion of the universe should not be interpreted as literal dawns and sunsets, but rather as 6 ordered periods in the process of creation. The Bible itself teaches us that every created being needs to go through a period of growth, symbolized by night, before reaching the perfection of morning. When the first day of creation was completed, Scripture states, "And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day." Genesis 1:5. The creation of the universe, as well as everything in it, required time to materialize and reach perfection. There was an essential period of growth. Without this process, creation would not be complete and full. Therefore, For creation to develop and reach its fullness, time is a crucial element, an integral part of the divine plan. Every being needs time to reach its maturity or perfection. For a cause to produce its effect, for physical and chemical changes to occur, time is fundamental. This period is what we call the growth period. The evening, in this context, represents the moment when the divine idea begins to take form and substance, containing all the essential elements to achieve perfection. Think of it as a seed, which carries within it the complete design of a tree or an egg, which holds the potential for new life. After going through a period of growth and development, creation reaches its fullness and perfection, ready to multiply and bear fruit, always in alignment with the divine plan. This growth period is divided into 3 stages: formation, growth, and perfection. In the Garden of Eden, human beings received the warning not to eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, with the clear consequence of death. This reveals a fundamental truth. God did not create us already perfect, as many suppose. Adam and Eve were in a stage of instability and immaturity. The warning was, therefore, a test of their still developing condition, and the command to be fruitful, that is, to become capable of producing fruit, confirms that they were in a continuous process of perfecting themselves. Thus, the existence of this growth period is clearly perceived. God, He indeed, is perfect. Human beings, however, were created to grow, both physically and spiritually. We grow naturally, like all creation, driven by the force of the principle, passing through the 3 stages of growth. However, we, human beings, have a distinguishing factor. We possess a spirit that also needs to grow and perfect itself. And this spiritual growth occurs by combining the force of the principle with a unique portion of responsibility that only human beings possess. God endowed human beings with a portion of responsibility over which even He does not interfere directly. The reason for this is profound. By creating us as His children, He destines us to inherit His creative nature. This means that we are called to actively participate in the great work of creation, fulfilling our part of responsibility. God desires that human beings conquer and become worthy of governing creation, as creators in their own right. The realm of God's direct dominion is the realm of perfection. Human beings will inhabit this direct dominion when they are fully and completely involved in God's love. The root of sin, a new perspective on the human fall. All people carry within them an original mind, a natural inclination that leads us to reject evil and seek good. However, even without realizing it, we are often impelled by dark forces to commit actions that, deep down in our hearts, we do not wish to perform. In the Christian context, the master of these evil forces is known as Satan. But after all, what is sin, and what would its true origin be? To this day, many believe that the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden was a literal fruit. Based on the Bible, the most widespread conception is that sin arose at the moment Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. However, an intriguing question arises. Could God, the loving Father of humanity, have created a fruit so seductive and causing such a profound fall, placing it so easily within reach of His children? Jesus offers us a crucial clue by stating, "What goes into a man's mouth does not make him unclean, but what comes out of his mouth, that makes him unclean. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, slander." Matthew 15:11-18. If original sin was inherited because our first ancestors ate the fruit, how could ingested food cause a sin transmissible to all generations? And would a God of love test His children so relentlessly, by a means that would cause them death? To understand the fruit, we need to look at the tree in question, and also at the tree of life, which was beside it. Adam and Eve would not have risked their lives and disobeyed God just for a delicacy, would they? It must have been something extraordinarily stimulating, so powerful that not even the fear of death prevented them from obtaining it. Therefore, we can infer that the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not, in fact, a literal fruit. The Bible tells us in Genesis 2:9, "And the Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." And in Genesis 3:24, we read, "After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life." From this last verse, we conclude that Adam's deepest desire was the tree of life. Both trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, were the most important in the garden, positioned right in the center. Ancient wisdom tells us, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life." Proverbs 13:12. We can perceive that since the Old Testament, the tree of life represented great hope. And in Revelation 22:14, it is reaffirmed, "Blessed are those who wash their robes, so that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may go through the gates into the city." The tree of life, therefore, symbolizes a perfect man who fully realized the ideal of creation. It symbolizes, then, the perfected Adam. What was Adam's hope in his immaturity as he grew towards perfection? It was to reach and become that tree of life, the man who fulfills the purpose of creation. Due to the fall, the first Adam failed to become the tree of life. That is why Jesus, the second Adam, came as the tree of life, and when he returns, he will come again as the tree of life. And what about the forbidden fruit and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? This tree symbolized a woman, Eve, striving to realize the ideal of creation, and who resided beside the tree of life. God did not create Adam to be alone. He created Eve to be his wife. Just as the tree bears fruit, the woman gives birth to children, who can be good or evil, according to the responsibility of their parents. The true identity of the serpent and the nature of sin. But who was the serpent? She knew God's will that forbade human beings from eating the fruit. The Bible describes her as a being capable of conversing with humans. She tempted Eve, causing the fall of beings who are also spiritual. In Revelation 12:9, we read, "The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him." And in 2 Peter 2:4, or Jude 6-7, it is written that God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness. This leads us to a convincing conclusion. The serpent that tempted human beings and led them to sin is a spiritual being, an angel who, originally created with a good purpose, later fell and became Satan. In Jude 6-7, we learn that the angels did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling. These and Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. They serve as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. From this passage, we can deduce that the angels' fall occurred as a result of an illicit relationship. Let us remember Genesis 2:25. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Before the fall, Adam and Eve felt no shame about their nakedness. However, after the fall, they sewed fig leaves together to cover their sexual parts. It is human nature to hide flaws, and this act of covering up indicates that their sexual parts, and not their mouths, were the source of their shame. This brings us back to Jesus' words in John 8:44. "You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires." Love, which should be the most precious and sacred act, is often viewed with shame and contempt, because the sexual act was the true cause of the fall. We can, then, deduce that the illicit relationship involved the angel and human beings. It is evident that a temptation linked to sex is more powerful than simply eating a fruit. Therefore, An angel seduced the woman, and both the angel and human beings sinned due to an illicit sexual love. Before the human fall, the only thing someone would be willing to risk their life for would be sexual passion and desire. Now the serpent was craftier than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden'?" Genesis 3:1. The symbolic fruit and the lineage of sin. The fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil symbolized Eve's love. Eve, like the tree of knowledge, was supposed to reach full maturity only after passing through a period of growth. Like a tree that multiplies through its fruits, Eve should have borne good children through her divine love, receiving the essence of God's divinity and multiplying a good lineage. Instead, she received the essence of Satan's evil nature and multiplied a satanic lineage from which our sinful society descends. She bore evil children through her satanic love, for she ate the fruit. That is, she established a loving relationship with an angel that made her impure. This aligns, for example, with the idea of eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven, Matthew 19:12, indicating the depth of the sexual issue in the context of spirituality. Concluding, the root of sin did not occur because our first ancestors ate a literal fruit, but because they had an illicit sexual relationship with an angel, symbolized by the serpent. Consequently, they could not multiply God's good lineage, but rather an evil lineage, that of Satan. Only a sexual relationship could bind blood ties and perpetuate a lineage with original sin, transmitting it from one generation to the next. Understanding the motivation and process of the fall. To understand the motivation and process of the fall, we need to know a crucial point: who the angels are. In the book of Revelation, the angel accompanying John describes himself as a fellow servant, Revelation 22:9. And similarly, in the letter to the Hebrews, 1:14, angels are referred to as ministering spirits. More than that, the Bible brings us an even more impactful revelation in 1 Corinthians 6:3. Do you not know that we will judge angels? This shows us their subordinate nature and the importance of understanding them in this context. It is vital to understand that the human fall was not a simple event, but a process that occurred in two distinct dimensions, affecting our totality as beings created by God. After all, He created us with two essential components: a spiritual being and a physical being. The spiritual fall occurred through an illicit sexual relationship between an angel and Eve, and the physical fall, in turn, occurred through the sexual relationship between Eve herself and Adam. Lucifer's motivation: jealousy and vengeance. To unravel this mystery, we need to go back to the beginning of the drama, focusing on Lucifer. He had been appointed by God as archangel, the channel of divine love for the entire angelic world, monopolizing, in a way, that love, Isaiah 14:12. However, after the creation of human beings, God began to love them more. After all, they were His children, while Lucifer was His servant. And here is a crucial point. God's love for Lucifer did not diminish. It remained the same. Lucifer, however, interpreted this new dynamic as a reduction of the love he received. Feeling overlooked and consumed by jealousy of Adam and Eve, a feeling of vengeance began to germinate in his heart. It is for this reason that Lucifer seduced Eve, and this was the main motivation for the spiritual fall. The power of a love outside the principle, generated by the action of giving and receiving between Lucifer and Eve, led to the consummation of an illicit sexual relationship on the spiritual plane. Lucifer, who abandoned his position due to excessive desire, and Eve, who wanted to open her eyes like God's before the time and without due maturity, formed a common ground. From this encounter, this forbidden union, a love outside the principle was born. When Eve united with Lucifer through this forbidden love, she received overwhelming feelings of fear within herself, fruits of a guilty conscience. Furthermore, she acquired a dark wisdom, which made her realize that her divinely planned partner should be Adam, and not an angel. All the emotions and sensations experienced in that relationship between Lucifer and Eve, including feelings of shame and guilt, were as intense and real as those experienced in contact between two physical people. The physical fall. Eve and Adam. Eve then, seeing in Adam her only hope of returning to God's grace, tempted him. She acted in the same way as the archangel acted in seducing her. The power of this love outside the principle, now generated in her relationship with Adam, induced him to abandon his original position, uniting them in a physical relationship of illicit love. This was Eve's motivation that led to the physical fall. The inheritance of the fall. When Adam united with Eve, he inherited all the elements that Eve had received from the angel. These elements, in turn, were transmitted to all subsequent generations, without interruption. Thus, the fall, in its spiritual and physical dimensions, revealed how emotions and sensations between a human being and a spirit can be as intense and real as those felt in contact between two earthly people, shaping the history of humanity to this day. Now, it is fundamental to understand its devastating consequences. Through that primordial act, all humanity, unfortunately, found itself bound in blood ties to Lucifer, becoming, in a sense, children of Satan. It is for this reason that Jesus, with undeniable truth, stated, "You belong to your father, the devil." John 8:44, and on other occasions called them a brood of vipers. Matthew 12:34 and 23:33. Adam and Eve fell while still in a state of immaturity, establishing a foundation of 4 positions, but now centered on Satan. Consequently, the entire world came to be under the sovereignty of this evil being. That is why the Bible calls him the prince of this world, John 12:31, and even the God of this world, 2 Corinthians 4:4. Consider the contrast. If Adam and Eve had reached full maturity and built a foundation of 4 positions centered on God, the world would have lived under divine sovereignty from that moment. The 4 types of sin, a tree of consequences. This inheritance of the fall imprisons us in 4 types of sin, which we can illustrate as the parts of a tree. Original sin. It is the root of all sins, the first and deepest, arising with the spiritual and physical fall of our first ancestors. It is the origin of our fallen lineage, transmitted from generation to generation. It is the root of this tree of transgressions. Hereditary sin. This is the sin inherited directly from our ancestors, a connection through our own family lineage. Think of it as the trunk of the tree, supporting the entire structure. Collective sin. This is the sin for which we are responsible as members of a group, be it a club, an association, a political party, or a nation. It is sin acquired through complicity, through our participation or inaction in a larger context. It manifests in the branches of the tree, branching out in various directions. Individual sin. It is personal sin, the wrong actions and choices that each of us practices. These are the sins that we can compare to the leaves of the tree, visible and numerous, but springing from the deeper structure. The fallen natures, the internal legacy of the fall. In addition to the types of sin, the fall also left us with 4 main fallen natures. These tendencies became the cause of our bad character, and all of us, unfortunately, suffer their influence. Not taking God's point of view. The first of these fallen natures was born in Lucifer's heart. God had chosen him, his most intelligent and beloved angel, for a glorious mission, to participate in the education and protection of his children. At first, Lucifer felt honored, but upon perceiving the divine plan to establish a kingdom of heaven as a universal family, he began to envision the possibility of taking God's place. Selfishness arose in his heart. He ceased to see things from the divine point of view and began to center on himself, leaving his position as a servant. As a consequence of this inversion of viewpoint, Lucifer, who should protect, educate, and serve God's children, abandoned his mission. Instead of serving, he began to serve himself through Adam and Eve. Inversion of dominion. This fallen nature, although not explicit in its original text, is intrinsic to the first two. Lucifer inverted the order of dominion, seeking to rule over those he should serve. Multiplication of evil. This was an inevitable consequence. Lucifer's rebellion did not stop with him. It was adhered to by other angels, and Eve, seduced by him, multiplied this evil by seducing Adam. Adam, in turn, acquired these same tendencies when Eve, assuming the role of the tempting archangel, bound him in blood ties through their sexual relationship. Previously, Eve had already inherited from the archangel all predispositions to her transgression against God when he intertwined her in blood ties through their relationship. Current society, a mirror of the fall. Throughout human history, we are daily witnesses to the consequences of the fall. The practice of sins and the fallen natures that we inherit are visibly present in our daily lives. Human society today is a clear projection of what occurred in that Garden of Eden. What predominates most in our current society? Sexual promiscuity and violence. These are deep symptoms of a root cause: the lack of dominion over sex. This manifests in two main forms: premature sexual desire before the right time of maturity, excessive sexual desire with the wrong person. The lack of dominion over sex is the main cause of human problems, for the fall stripped us of divine sensitivity and distanced us from original purity.
Now that we know why God created us and the reason why we don't exist according to that divine ideal, in the next video we will explain God's providential work to restore humankind to its rightful position as divine children. So don't miss it. Subscribe to the channel, comment, ask questions. I'll be happy to answer. If you liked the video, leave a like. Thank you very much.